Hello everybody, this is 8-Bit Flashback, and today I want to share with you my latest custom build, the PSone Xu4 Classic. So I bought this on eBay for only 12 bucks in non-working condition, and I decided to give it a new life. So I started by completely removing all the electronics on the inside. Then I installed an Odroid Xu4 single board computer, which is very capable of emulating PlayStation. To make the Xu4 fit properly, there was a little bit of modding involved, such as drilling, cutting holes, wiring, and more. And I do this type of stuff for hobby and entertainment purposes, and I really enjoy doing it. When I do custom builds like this, it just floods back all kinds of retro gaming memories. And if I'm going to build a custom PlayStation console, what better way to do it than to use an official PlayStation case? And for those of you out there that might be interested in getting an Odroid Xu4 single board computer, be sure to check out Ameridroid.com. And they've got plenty of Xu4s in stock, plus a lot of other items worth checking out, and I'll make sure to post a link down below. For the power button, I did make this functional, and it's a momentary switch that's wired directly to the GPIO pins on the Xu4. For the controller ports, I added two USB ports, and these are part of a mini USB hub that's installed on the inside of the console. On the back here, I had to cut port holes so I have access to my power port, my micro SD card slot, my HDMI output, and my USB port. And I did all that with a small Dremel and an X-Acto knife. I also drilled some holes to the bottom of the case and secured that Odroid Xu4 with some small bolts and nuts. Inside the lid here, I have a game for a good cosmetic appearance, but this is also functional, but it's probably not what you think. What I did is I attached a small thumb drive to the bottom of the disc, and this is 32 gigabytes, and this actually plugs right into the Odroid Xu4 on that front 3.0 USB port. So this has multiple uses. I can use this to play games from, or I can use this to add games to my micro SD card. So here's an up close look inside the case, and here is the Odroid Xu4 itself. I also have a miniature USB hub that's installed right here, and that plugs into the bottom USB 3.0 port. And this is what supplies power to those front two USB ports on the front of the console. I also have a red LED light that's wired up for the power button, and I'll demonstrate that here in a few. So this top USB port is where the game plugs into, and I'll show you how that plugs in. It just centers right here in the middle, and then I push it forward, and that plugs right into that top USB port. So really the only reason I did this is just for looks. I just wanted it to look nice when I push the open button and not see all these electronics, but just see a game instead. But if I wanted to, I could just use a thumb drive by itself and have the electronics exposed. But I'm not really a big fan of being practical, and I kind of like to do over-the-top stuff because I'm weird like that. Here's a demonstration of that red LED light I was talking about earlier. When I push the power button, it turns on with the power. Let's go ahead and boot this up, and the splash screen or intro screen that I got here was compiled by Curtis Brown. And this is a really nice and simple modern day intro for the original PlayStation. And for the operating system, I'm using a RetroPie build that was compiled together by the Odroid Retro Arena team. And for the controller, I'm using this wireless Afterglow PS3 controller. I'm also using a mini PlayStation theme that was made by Eugene F. And I did modify this theme myself just a little bit. I added some custom folders and some artwork. So I got a couple different folders in here. I got the PlayStation Classic, I got the Japan Classic, and I got my favorites. So let's start with the PlayStation Classics folder. Inside here, I have the 20 games that's going to be released next month for the official PlayStation Classic. Now, a lot of people are unhappy with the game lineup, including myself. There are some good titles mixed in here, but there's some titles that just don't make any sense, such as Jumping Flash or Super Puzzle Fighter 2. Man, I can't remember the last time I said, hey, let's play Super Puzzle Fighter 2. And here's the Japan's Classics folder, and inside here is going to be the 8 games that are exclusive to the Japan console only. Now these 8 games all seem to be great games, which is very disappointing when there's so many games on that US list that I'm not happy with. And here's a look inside my favorites folder, and this is some of the games that should have been included on the US Classic list. Crash Bandicoot should be on there, it's like a no-brainer. That was the mascot for the 90s for PlayStation, and it's not included. I think that is crazy. Gran Turismo, that should be another must-have. The PlayStation had thousands and thousands of games, so to limit that list to only 20, I know it's hard, but it should be pretty easy to include 20 great titles. Now myself, I did pre-order the PlayStation Classic, and I'm still excited about it, but I'm also disappointed at the same time. But luckily for me, emulation exists, and I can play pretty much any PlayStation game I want. We got Mortal Kombat 4, PSone. Now PSone is actually a surprisingly addictive game, and it's much funner than I thought it'd be. Skull Monkeys, this is also a classic, and it's also a very expensive game. SpiderMan, now this really would have made sense if they'd released this with the PlayStation Classic, especially with the SpiderMan that's out for the PS4 right now, it just would have made sense. Spyro, Tenchu, Tomb Raider, there's just so many different titles that could have been included on that 20 games list. Okay, it's time to check out a game. Let's start with Metal Gear Solid. Now this is a game that is included with the PlayStation Classic. And that does make me happy because this is one of my favorite games. As far as the emulation goes on the Odroid Xu4 with RetroPie on the ORA build, it's pretty good. There is some games that have issues, but for the most part the emulation runs well. Okay, it's ninja time. I'm going to sneak over to the box and they are never going to see me. Who remembers playing Metal Gear Solid for the first time? I remember the first time I played it, it was something that I've never experienced before, and I thought it was amazing. So all I have to do is stay right here, and they're never gonna find me. Well, it looks like I was wrong. Oh, they got me. But no worries, all I have to do is run around a couple boxes, and I'll lose them. I wish it was this easy to hide from people in real life, but it does make this game a lot funner. And now I'm safe again. Alright, let's try another game out on the US Classic list. This is Tekken 3. To be honest, I really wasn't a big fan of fighting games on the original PlayStation, at least until this game came out. This was really a game changer for me, and I think this really set the benchmark for fighting games on the original PlayStation from this point on. Now let's check out a Japan Classic exclusive. Let's try Armored Core. And I really dig this game quite a bit. This actually reminds me of Burning Rangers for the Sega Saturn. I don't know if you guys have played that game before, but the gameplay is a little bit similar. But obviously the storyline is completely different. Okay, now let's head over to my PlayStation's favorites folder and test out Crash Bandicoot. And like I said earlier, this is a game that should have been included on that US Classic release list. So here's what I think about Crash Bandicoot. When I think of Sega, I think of Sonic. When I think of Nintendo, I think of Mario. When I think of Sony, I think of Crash Bandicoot. Why is he not included? And here is Spider-Man. Now when this game came out, it was a big deal. There was no other Spider-Man game like this before. We were introduced to Spidey and a whole new 3D world.
But the bank's being robbed, and they've got hostages. Use your Spidey compass to get to the bank quickly. Thanks, Cat.
Skull Monkeys is a very unique and awesome game, and it was kind of like a movie inside of a game, with a lot of great FMV cutscenes. Alrighty, it's time for me to go. If you liked that video, please click that like button. If you want to hear more from me, please subscribe. And if you want to help support the channel, you can find me on Facebook and Patreon. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.